Greg admitted something to me when we were talking last week for this. He's been a client of mine in various companies for some years. But he finally said this out loud. He said, part of what we do when we're qualifying opportunity is we may choose to delegate risk. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, and Khalil, you know me, so we don't work directly with brand side exhibitors. We only serve agencies and build shops. So we don't get to delegate risk. We're the guys the risk is handed to. So if Greg feels that he has a lower probability, he goes, well, send it to Crew XP and have those guys quote it and do whatever. And, when I finally, the shoe dropped the other day, I'm like, you son of a bitch, right? By the way, this is a podcast, not TV. We're allowed to swear on podcasts, right? Yeah. I'm like, you SOB. He goes, listen, but I get it. The truth is, some people, the strategy is we're going to have somebody else spin their wheels and do the grind work on figuring out.
First of all, that's true. No matter what anybody wants to say, it's absolutely true. That is an agency trick, and I've sat on both sides of that for long periods of time. If you've got an outfit that will do the work for you, then there's less risk in you allowing them to waste their energy on something than you spending your own. If you have great partnerships, I wouldn't do that. I would attempt to try not to do that, but you may not know if that's really what's happening to you. And we have to deal with the same thing too with our stakeholders. We don't always know, particularly if it's a new relationship, what the situation is with the incumbent, and if we're there to just help them make their incumbent, keep them honest. There are times when I will just ask that question directly, in hopes that there would be some goodwill down the line if I'm able to kind of assist somebody. But that's a classic agency model.
By the way, there's never the goodwill. My experience is the goodwill doesn't come down the line. You're not. It usually doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So
one of our key values for the show is lasting partnerships, and I think in many respects, both from the agency down to some of the exhibit builders, there has to be that lasting partnership. But even on that front end of you bring in new projects, when you have those lasting partnerships with an existing client, it makes this qualification process so much easier because you know the decision maker, what they're used to. They've had that experience working with you where you can bypass a lot of these things because you're like, oh, that's so-and-so. Yeah, we can just skip down to like the nuts and bolts of the project rather than having to do all the qualification. But you guys are right. Like with the qualification, you absolutely want to increase and maximize your conversion rate as high as possible, because it sucks whenever you get an RFP that you've worked on for days, you've got multiple hands on it, and you don't win. And it feels like a waste of time. It's a big letdown. It can really hurt your trust with that brand that you were working with too.
If you think of it, we're the agency of record for some of our clients. And thus, when an opportunity comes in, if that piece of work happens, we're going to do the work. There's a very high conversion rate, in those situations, and you approach that differently than if you're not, and you do not know whether you're going to be awarded that business. And that's really what the partnership is about. When we're reaching out to Crew XP, they know that if we earn the business, they're going to do the work. We're not in the business of shopping our vetted partners and suppliers, because I just don't want to burn that goodwill. When I need them to be there for me. And if they never really are sure whether they're going to get the work or not, I think that just damages the relationship. But to be honest with you, that's not always the case with your supply chain, right?